Snoop and Tupac were often pictured together. Many believed they were best friends. But of course, as the decades have passed, yes, decades, still can't quite believe that. Some things have been revealed regarding their friendship, including some revelations from Snoop himself. So Snoop is officially the new owner of Death Row Records. That makes a lot more sense than Hasbro owning them. Snoop acquired Death Row Records from MNRK Music Group. Speaking of acquiring the label, he said, "I am thrilled and appreciative of the opportunity to acquire the iconic and culturally significant Death Row Records brand, which has immense untapped future value. It feels good to have ownership of the label I was part of at the beginning of my career, and as one of the founding members, this is an extremely meaningful moment for me." It was definitely a full circle moment. Snoop joined Death Row soon after it was founded in 1992 by Dr. Dre, Suge Knight, the DOC and Dick Griffey in the aftermath of NWA's breakup. But he ended up leaving soon after Tupac's death, along with so many others. Suge wasn't happy about this, and they both badmouthed each other in the press.
Snoop Dogg was on death row. He leaves death row, he goes on to do well.
Hello.
They both still have to coexist in rap. Most of all, they both still live in Los Angeles.
Is LA divided now between where Suge goes and where Snoop goes?
Yes. Suge goes everywhere in LA. Snoop goes nowhere in LA. He can't go nowhere without 20 people holding his hand.
They don't have no more stars over there, Death Row. So they living off of Snoop Dogg and the Dr. Dre pass and Tupac soul, you know. They just living off of all old material. There's nothing over there brand new that's moving.
Tupac became the star of the label in '95. All eyes were certainly on him at the time, and there were some rumours going around that the other artists who had been at the label longer were jealous. Now, Kenya Ware, interview link below, spoke about the reaction of the other artists when Park joined. She said they were a little razzled. Dre was razzled, and Snoop was razzled too. She said Park demanded all the attention and got it. Prior to this, Snoop was the main star. He had that huge court case that was a tragic situation, but it was also huge publicity for him and his album at the time. When Tupac joined Death Row, Snoop would have been working on his second album and awaiting the verdict of his trial. Kenya said, quote, "Everybody had to move out of the way when Park got there." She said this didn't apply to people like Daz Dillinger and Corrupt. Those who were producers were in their own lane, but the rappers felt some type of way. Now Tupac was already established, and he came to add to the label. She said that he essentially upgraded the label. Tupac was an actor, and he wasn't just doing cameos or extended music videos type of acting. He was in movies with Janet Jackson and his own blockbusters. He was also walking runways for Versace, something that other rappers weren't doing at the time. Snoop and Park's careers paralleled each other's, but when Park joined Death Row, the label got a lot more attention. Some might argue that he put Death Row on the map. The label also received a lot of negative attention because of Suge's image and gangster persona. But Tupac brought the star appeal, which grew even more when his first single on the label went to #1. Kenya said it was obvious that Tupac had upgraded Death Row. The artist got Rolls Royces, apartments in expensive neighbourhoods. Hopefully they got royalties too, but sadly I don't think that was the case. It was more lucrative to Suge to push Tupac, and the other albums from the other artists ended up getting shelved and delayed for some time. Snoop's second album came out after Tupac's death. He was probably eager to get it out sooner, especially off the back of his first album. Dre ended up departing. He wasn't going to stand for it as a legend himself, and as a co-founder of the label, I guess he felt he deserved better. No doubt the other artists respected Tupac, but ultimately they were hurt. And you know, when Tupac first joined the label, from day one he was working like a dog. Remember, he recorded hundreds of songs in a very short space of time. That was a lot of studio time dedicated to him that the other artists missed out on. But Tupac did support Snoop when he was going through his court case. Danny Boy confirmed that Tupac was there in the court as much as possible, along with Suge and himself. Suge did a lot to help Snoop out and beat his case. He hired the best lawyer in town, David Kenner, and helped him with legal fees. In 1996, he was acquitted for murder. However, Tupac and Snoop had a huge falling out shortly before Tupac's death, and the friendship never got an opportunity to recover. It's probably one of Snoop's biggest regrets. And it all stemmed from the East versus the West Coast beef. In an Angie Martinez interview on her Untold Stories of Hip Hop show, Snoop spoke about the tense encounter between Tupac and Nas shortly after attending the 1996 MTV Video Music Awards at Radio City Music Hall. The photos of that night of Snoop and Pac were some of the last photos taken of Tupac. It was his last public appearance before his death. Snoop said he saw them with their hands on their guns when they greeted each other. Check out my video explaining the events of this night, linked below. Snoop went on Angie's show again the following day, doing his rounds while he was in New York. Appearing on her Hot 97 show, Snoop stated he had nothing but love for the East Coast rappers. He said, "We all used to hang out. I love Biggie and I love Pac, and both of them love me. So how I look, saying F Biggie because I'm with Pac." And then he said they had the same struggles and they were rapping about the same issues. So why couldn't they all just get along? And that was the interview that ended his friendship with Tupac, just before Tupac's death. Snoop said, on the plane ride home with Suge, Tupac and his crew, he hid a fork and knife under a blanket in case anything went down. That's how on edge he was, because of the tension. Apparently, Suge didn't allow Snoop security on the plane, so that was a huge red flag. Now, I still haven't seen the movie. I know, I'm really late. But apparently this was depicted in the All Eyes on Me biopic. The reviews put me off, so I'm still yet to see it. Director Benny Boom told the New York Post, "You have to remember that Snoop was a Crip from Long Beach, so he would never be caught off guard. Tupac was originally a Blood. Even when you've made it out of the street, these gang loyalties remain." Now, I'm not sure if that is completely accurate. Tupac may have had some associations with the Bloods because of his friendship with Suge, but from my understanding, he was never actually a gang member himself. Now, people have questioned some of the claims Snoop has made over the years. First, he said that he was the one to persuade Suge to sign Tupac. But Suge himself gave props to Tupac's wife, Keisha, and said she's the one who contacted him and persuaded him to go and see Tupac while he was in jail.
Only person which I think we really should interview her and put her on there because most people don't know her is a woman named Keisha. She was Pac's wife. She married Pac when he was in prison.
Keisha Morris?
She called my office. Yeah, his wife, right? From New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. She called my office, and when she called my office, everybody kept laughing and they took the message and wouldn't give it to me. So I said, "What y'all laughing about?" They said, "There's this girl named Keisha keeps saying she's Tupac's wife, and, they got married, and he really needs your help." And they said, some crazy head. I said, "Well, look, let me talk to her, because it might be a chance she's telling the truth, right?" So I get on the phone with her, and she said, "Suge, I'm so glad you took my call. said, everybody think I'm crazy. I said, I know, they was telling me don't talk to you. He said, but we're really married. I can show you the marriage certificate. I can show you this. I can show you that. I said, you don't got to do all that. Just tell me what you need. I thought she might need some bread or something. I would just give it to her. She said, look, Tupac said, the only person can help him is you. Please come sing so you can get him out of prison. So I said, look, I got anchor bracelet on as we speak. I'll call my lawyer and get permission for us to go out to New York and then go sing.
On episode 19 of All the Smoke podcasts, Snoop said, he was my friend before death row, building a brotherhood with him. So when he was locked up, naturally I spoke to Suge and was like, we need to get Cuz out and put him with us because he will make us better. And he told Drink Champs podcast in 2016 that he was the reason Park came to death row.
I'm the reason why he was on death row.
Oh, wow. I ain't never heard that.
That's what I
Yeah, he was my friend.
Right.
And my thing was speaking with Suge, because after he had got shot, I had flew to New York like the next day. And it was like shit was going bad for him and he had got locked up. And I was like, man, Suge, we need to put that nigga with us, cuz.
Snoop claimed he told Suge they need to sign Tupac because things were going bad for him and he had been shot and locked up. This was in '94 after the Quad Studios shooting where he was shot 5 times and then the following day he was sentenced to serve time in prison. According to Snoop, he and Tupac met at the Poetic Justice rap party and they became friends. MC Breed was a mutual friend of the DOC and Tupac, so they all became a circle of friends. Poetic Justice premiered in '93, so that was a good couple of years before Tupac joined Death Row. And Tupac and Snoop recorded several songs together and filmed various music videos, such as 2 of America's Most Wanted, All About You, and an appearance from Snoop in All Eyes on Me. Snoop also claimed in the podcast that he told Daz to give Tupac all the good beats while he was working on his album, The Dogfather.
So we working on my record, so when he get out, naturally I tell Daz and the whole crew, Pac getting out, y'all throw Cuz all of the music, get him right first. Right. So he end up getting all this hot music.
Now Daz did produce 5 songs on Tupac's double album that eventually went on to be certified double platinum. But Johnny J was Tupac's longtime producer and he produced most of Tupac's hits. As soon as Tupac got out of prison, the first person he called was Johnny, so I think he had the beats covered. And again, Suge credited Keisha as being the person who persuaded him to go and see Tupac and eventually sign him to Death Row. Now that doesn't mean Snoop never mentioned anything to Suge about signing Tupac. Approximately a year after Tupac's death, Snoop left Death Row Records. While in prison, Suge made a deal with Master P and No Limit Records, allowing them to sign Snoop. This was a deal that Snoop was very happy with. Snoop had been trying to distance himself from Suge for quite some time because of all of Suge's gang affiliations and the trouble that seemed to follow him. After avoiding being convicted for murder, Snoop actually wanted to stay out of trouble and just focus on the music. And when Suge was sentenced to 9 years in prison, Snoop saw this as the perfect opportunity to finally break free. Both of them didn't speak well of each other for a while, and there were some rumours, even rumours of Suge putting out a hit on Snoop.
Because I never ever heard Snoop hate on a nigga.
Never.
Ever in your life.
Not even Suge Knight when he was trying to kill me.
Yeah, you want to talk about that or?
I mean, you know, we learn to live and forgive. You know, me and him got a great relationship now, so we good. We passed that.
And Snoop even had a diss track against Suge, which was very brave of him. But in 2015, people spotted Suge and Snoop at a nightclub together, confirming that the beef between them was squashed. Until this day, Snoop speaks highly of Suge. He told Vlad TV it was a meeting of 2 great minds that realised going at each other would just lead to 2 dead minds. That is actually really deep. And Snoop told The Breakfast Club in 2017 that he stayed in contact with Suge via the phone while he served his sentence, and said he had a better understanding of Suge. Suge didn't hate him, he just didn't like the fact that he couldn't control him. And that's not a very good basis for a friendship. You really want control of that artist, but some artists deserve their own control and their own lane, and you've got to give it to them. And now Snoop owns the label 25 years later. However, fans were surprised to find out that the deal to acquire Death Row excludes most of Tupac's music. According to Billboard, Tupac's albums All Eyes on Me and The Donkey Illuminati, The 2-Day Theory, are technically no longer on the label. Previous owners, MNRK Music Group and investment firm Blackstone, currently have the rights to Death Row Records' catalogue entries, but the deal was still being negotiated. So as of now, Snoop Dogg is the only best-selling artist currently on the label. And now we have some breaking news. Snoop has recently addressed the fact that Death Row do not have Tupac's masters. Remember when Afeni took Death Row to court, demanding the music that was in their vaults that belonged to Tupac, including a lot of unreleased songs? Well, she won that case, so the estate has a lot of his music. And apparently, as of last year, they've recently won back his masters. He said, "As far as Tupac's masters came back to him last year, but I got a great relationship with his estate. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to work something out to continue some Death Row Tupac business now that Snoop Dogg is in control of Death Row." Snoop vowed to not repeat the mistakes of the past, saying, "I don't want no rappers or no people that got issues, beefs, problems, misunderstandings. You've got ties to neighborhoods that don't like this neighborhood. You can't get along and can't go here. All of them can't be with me." So it's good to know that he doesn't want to repeat the patterns that were quite destructive with the old Death Row records. So let's see how things work out. I'm sure people wish him the best. And on top of that, it's ironic to think that Snoop and Puffy may be working together in the future, and we will finally see a Bad Boy and Death Row Records collaboration. Or is it something that is 26 years overdue, and probably something that, if done earlier, could have avoided a lot of heartache and tragedy? What do you think of Pac and Snoop's friendship? Was it genuine? Do you think it was Snoop who was responsible for getting Tupac signed to Death Row? Or do you think the credit should solely be given to Keisha? And what do you think about Tupac's biggest albums not being on Death Row Records as of now? And are you excited to see a Bad Boy and Death Row collaboration after all this time? Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.